Hello there. Welcome back to Maximum Weight Challenge. Today we are actually going to be finishing, or getting really close to finishing this challenge, as I have a surprise for you tomorrow. But with that said, we're just going to jump straight into it. Currently, we have a very healthy lead on the Red Bulls, a good 100 points. In the Driver Championship, Norris and Gasly are still squabbling, but at least they have a healthy lead on Leclerc and Verstappen of around 50 points each. So all in all, it's looking very promising for this. And as I mentioned, we're going to try and get through as much as we can of the remainder of the season today. So bear with me, and I hope you enjoy. Now, first things first, we are going to keep on developing our car. Currently, it is basically the best car on the grid. We have been overtaken in medium and high-speed cornering by, I believe it is Red Bull. It is indeed. But while they have a pretty decent advantage on the high speeds of almost 100 Gs, we're basically very close to the medium. And we have a slight advantage in low speed, and then we have a huge advantage in top speed. So our cars are somewhat comparable when it comes to cornering. Well, not really. Red Bull has advantage when it comes to cornering, but we have a way bigger advantage when it comes to the top speed, and that is an advantage we're going to keep on cultivating today by working mainly on the chassis, the side pods, but also a little bit on the wings. We'll have to see exactly how we decide to upgrade the car, but there are going to be some upgrades while we, keep going. Next up, we're going to head to Emilia-Romagna. Let's see how we do there. But as mentioned, in this video, I'll try and get through as much as I can. We might skip a couple of races towards the end if the season is finished, just so that I can, get things started. But we'll deal with that when we get there. Hope you enjoy. Imola offered us a 1-2 in quali, and after a clean start, we make a break from the hard runners as we want to build a gap for rain later on in the race. As we get ready to pit for the Inters, we find ourselves a couple of seconds behind Verstappen, and while we end up doing a double stack, it should save time compared to doing another lap. Due to our terrible airflow, as well as a distraction from my side, we were unable to catch Verstappen, and we end the race in second and third. As we get ready for Monaco, we continue developing our chassis, and this one is going to be a fairly sizable upgrade. Looking forward to getting it on the car in a few races' time. Monaco offered us a first and fourth place in quali, with the Red Bull squeezed in between. A decent start sees us hold on to these positions, and by the time we're ready for the first pit stop, we're lap 30, with a sizable gap to Leclerc, Verstappen has stuck with us. 10 laps later, however, Verstappen is now 15 seconds behind, and after our second pit stop, we stayed in the lead and sailed into a comfortable 1-2 finish ahead of the Bulls. Barcelona gave us a first and third place start, and we had a pretty bad one as we fell down to second and fifth place immediately. Our first pit stop saw us come out a few seconds behind Verstappen, while Leclerc had a pit stop issue that slowed him down. Rain arrived a little bit earlier than we expected, as it was expected by lap 40 rather than 33, and with us being 5 to 10 seconds behind Verstappen, he might get another win with the help of the weather. And in the chase to hunt him down, we also had a spin, more or less guaranteeing said outcome. With the wet weather and high degradation, we could not catch Verstappen here and ended up second and third. In order to help us catch the Red Bull's high-speed cornering advantage, we actually make a front wing that is high-speed focused. After a wet start to the Canada GP, we are now going into the last 25 laps on a drying track, as both ourselves and the Red Bulls will pit. And they are ahead, and the question is if we can catch up. It doesn't take long, however, for us to catch and overtake Verstappen before we start hunting down Leclerc, who's even further up the road. Before we can catch him, however, he has a very unfortunate spin, and Norris is able to hold up Verstappen to take the win, and unfortunately for Gasly, all he could manage was a P4 finish. For Austria, we qualify first and second for the sprint, finish first and second, and do the same for the race in what was a very forgettable weekend. Of the next couple of races in Silverstone and Hungary, Gasly locking up is honestly the most interesting incident, and another couple of forgettable races sees us finish first and fourth in Silverstone, and second and third in Hungary due to losing out due to some pit issues. After the British Grand Prix, we are getting some of our designs complete, namely the rear wing and the side pods. Now the side pods there are basically getting close to being in the realm of an upgrade, and it's actually the upgrade that we're going to be manufacturing, or rather designing, this time around, so I thought I'd show you. Now currently the car is incredibly good. But we could be very cheeky here, put CFD time into the side pods as well. But honestly, I think that CFD time is better served elsewhere. Potentially even going for the underfloor, getting its cornering even higher. Could be a good move. We could actually do the same here for the rear wing. Increase the cornering capabilities of it. But what I think we're going to do here is just get the side wing made... Side pod made first. And we're going to get minimum on cooling and front airflow. And maximize the rest. And as you can see, this is already a pretty decent upgrade. Half a kph. We get a bunch of cornering. So the car is going to be even faster with this. We have been running, again, just a two-man show here, honestly, with the Red Bulls. So getting a little bit of extra oomph is not really a bad thing. And we have decided to just keep on developing the chassis a little bit further. But honestly, it's not really going to give us a huge amount of gain. But I do think going for the rear wing here and just making one with CFD time, we maximize the cornering capabilities, could be worth it. The cornering is pretty far behind on this wing. As you can see, we're about 60... Well, it's not super far behind. 70% here, 70% here. We're at 60% here. So maybe it would be better to do the underfloor. Now, the underfloor is almost 80% across the board. Well, at least the one that is equipped. But if we do this and have a quick look... maybe the underfloor is the correct play. Get another upgrade in here. Because it does seem like it could potentially be a decent thing to do. We aren't getting too much cornering though, as you can see. So even if we invest in another underfloor, I don't think it's gonna necessarily pay off. And that's kind of the judgments that we have to make. Using it on side pod or chassis because they're far behind could be doable. Suspension could also be a good one. What I think we do here is just go for the rear wing. Then we maximize the downforce. Get a little bit of extra cornering boost from the rear wing, which is the lighter part. So it doesn't suffer as many, or as big of a loss, if you will, from the extra added weight. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to do rear wing. We're going to run it twice. And as you can see already here, it's a huge amount of gain. But let's face it, this is the current spec. So yeah, we still need to do a couple of iterations, which shouldn't be a problem. We do have plenty of cost cap remaining. Belgium was yet another front row lockout for the sprint, and a nightmare for the Red Bulls as they came together, resulting in Leclerc falling to 5th and Verstappen to the back of the grid. We end up with a 1-2 finish, and the Red Bulls are down in 13th and 15th after Leclerc had to pit for damage. With no pressure from the Red Bulls, we built a gap and kept the lead for the entire race to finish 1-2. With a huge count to Verstappen, who did an amazing recovery drive. After our 1-2 here in Belgium, we're now about to head into the summer break, and it's looking very, very promising for us. Verstappen had also a wonderful recovery drive, as mentioned. Leclerc ended up 8th in what was a pretty miserable weekend for the Red Bulls, so they crashed. But honestly, it's all good. Driver Championship, we have about 80 points to our rivals down in Red Bull. Gasly is a little bit... 36 points behind, so there's still some semblance of a fight here, but honestly I think Norris is going to take it by the end. And in the constructors now, our lead is getting close to 200 points, so things are looking very, very well. The fastest pit stop, we are also leading by over 100 points, so we can be pretty happy with that, although we've had a couple of pit stop errors in the last few races, except for Hungary, where that kind of decided things. It hasn't really had any effect on us. Rear wing here is complete, and again, this is the design that we focused on cornering. And I want to see now if we can actually make a design that would be kind of worth it to put on the car. Now, we aren't really using DRS much because we are running in the lead most of the time. So what we wanted to do here with this rear wing is actually make something that increases our cornering capabilities, and this wing does just that. 17, 15, 33. As well as we get 5% extra DRS effectiveness, a little bit of top speed acceleration, but that is negligible, barely anything. Getting that dirty air tolerance up too is going to be nice, particularly for rainy races, but honestly, I don't think we have any particular concerns in that regard. So we're going to go ahead and get this one done quickly as possible. We can actually get it done in time for Sandwood, as we are now heading into the summer break. And we are going to get some more designs done here, but honestly, except for the suspension that we will be, of course, trying to make here, get ready for Sandwood, I don't think we are really going to be messing around with anything else. We'll try and get this upgrade sorted. Then we'll see how the cars stack up against each other after the summer break. But yeah, so far this season, it's been looking very, very promising. Let's see if we can keep that going till the end. And here we are. We're ready now for the Netherlands GP. Unfortunately for us, though, as you can see, in 6 days we get the Red Wing. We had a event that we got delayed, so Red Wing not ready for this race, unfortunately. But that is just how it be sometimes. We did, however, get our side pods finished in time, and they've actually been put on the car. And if we compare them to the old spec, it's half a kph. It is, you know, some other gains, if you will. So they're very, very nice. If we take a look at car analysis now, we're still third in low and medium speed. We are first in top speed DRS effectiveness, or in our acceleration. And we're still doing fairly good on other, you know, other parts, if you will. But you can see that Red Bull is starting to come back a little bit. They now have a sizable advantage in low speed cornering, 0.040, which is pretty huge. They also have a bit of an advantage in medium speed. We have a very slight advantage in high speed. But honestly, they have us beat on cornering, and honestly, we're just keeping up with them due to the fact that we have almost 3 kph more top speed than them. So as you can imagine here, the cornering does actually affect your car quite a bit, because Red Bulls are able to kind of follow us, they're able to kind of stick with us, and the top speed that we have isn't enough to create a gap when we aren't, you know, when we aren't trying. Unless we use full DRS, sorry, not full DRS, unless we use full energy on straights to try and get away, we can't actually break the Red Bull's DRS, which means like doing aggressive strategies in the beginning and then pitting early is kind of how we beat them, by just, you know, pitting earlier than they do, create a gap while they can't use DRS to follow us, and that's kind of what we have to do when we are fighting a car that is faster than us in the corners. We're going to probably have a little bit of an advantage here in Netherlands because we do have it's a lot of high-speed corners. So let's see how it goes. I'm looking forward to the second half of the season. But if it goes like this, we might end the championship very, very soon. Sandward saw another 1-2 start, but that is just due to the fact that Leclerc took penalties for new components. And by the time we actually get to our second stop, we already have a pit stop on the Bulls. And in the end, we have another 1-2 to add to our growing collection. Unfortunately, a random event means our rear wings are not ready for Monza, and we qualified first and third for the race, and after our first and only stop, we're barely ahead of Leclerc, while Verstappen is having a bit of a bad race. Since we are unable to drop Leclerc, we decide to just run our hards on light, and build tire advantage with sticking with him, and on the final lap, Norris gets the overtake for second, and our tire advantage gives us a 1-2 finish. In Singapore, the Red Bulls beat us in quali, with us qualifying second and fourth, and our ERS is starting to take damage and will need to be replaced very soon. After Verstappen pits, he comes out in traffic, and we decide this is the chance to build a gap before we do our own first pit stop, and by the time we pit, we have caught the other Red Bull of Leclerc and come out just behind the RB. To make matters worse for them, Leclerc has a light tap against the wall and falls down to 7th after needing a wing change. And with our final pit stop, we do come out a couple of seconds behind Verstappen, but with fresh softs versus older hards, we should have a chance of catching him. We make things dramatic for ourselves by having a team crash between our drivers. Luckily for us, we walk away with no damage whatsoever, except for a drop of confidence. The crash did unfortunately destroy our chance of winning, and we do finish the race second and third. We are about to go into quali for the Japanese Grand Prix. However, before we go there, we have a couple of decisions to make. Namely, the decisions are, what should we do with our components? We have actually been able to survive all the way here with just the ERSs we were given from, well, the get-go, and that has actually been pretty huge. We've had a couple of incidents, and they haven't really destroyed the car in any way, shape, or form. Singapore last time out, we basically just had a light love tap between our drivers, and it did nothing. So what I'm thinking we do here at Suzuka, since it is going to be a dry race itself, is that we're going to set ourselves up for the rest of the season. There is 7 races, including this one, remaining. So what we're going to do, just to be on the absolute safe side, and we're actually taking extra gearboxes, just because they're really, really cheap, and because we have a lot of cost cap remaining, is that we're just going to go ahead here and build 2 new cars. Extra engine, extra ERS, extra gearbox. And unless we have like a very, very bad crash, this should tide us over till the end of the season. And as I mentioned here, the cost cap is not really a big concern because we already have 30 million left. We spent, let's face it, we spent 15 million now. But we should be able to make it last till the end of the year, no big problem. So I'm not really concerned in that regard. Now, other than that, we have also a fairly healthy lead here. So losing out in 1 GP is not really a huge deal. The Red Bulls have also been, you know, even if we were to say end up outside of the points there and the Red Bulls inside, I still think we have a really, really good chance to get things done here. Probably going to get back onto a podium. Let's see what we can do. And apparently the gods are smiling on us. 1-2 in quali plus Verstappen in third, and he too is going to be eating a penalty. And then we had some really, really bad runs from Leclerc. As you can see, he's half a second, if not more, slower than what he was in Q1 and Q2. So this is basically, you know, Red Bull's chance to make something happen. And they have squandered it in quali already. Let's see if they can actually do something for the race itself. Now, because probably this is going to be the most interesting race of the season, because let's face it, we haven't really had much interest going this year. We've basically just been running with the Red Bulls, we have pitted, and then we've been able to create a gap because we pitted earlier than them. That's basically the recipe for every single race this season. And if we haven't been able to create a gap, we just run light behind them. They can't get away from us because we have so much top speed. So it's kind of a weird scenario. Now, because of the fact that we're going to have to do a lot of overtaking, I'm thinking of doing something a little bit weird, I guess you could say. And that is that we do a full attack on the soft tire immediately. And again, 2 reasons for this. Allows us to pit very, very early, which would be, you know, good. Because that means there's less cars to get through. And because we are going to get overtakes done, we are going to come out with full confidence on the mediums. Then we'll just sail as much as we can before we do a final soft stint. Now, we might run this light, just to build up a little bit more towards the end. But honestly, I don't think it matters much around here. Running the medium line is something we could do too. But yeah, I don't think it really matters too much for our strategies. So let's see how this goes, if we can get some overtakes done and catch up to the front of the grid. So Gasly has had a pretty bad time so far. He hasn't had any incidents, but he has been stuck behind the cars, making overtakes really, really difficult. Almost 10 laps in, he's still down in 18th here. Norris, on the other hand, has made his way up to 12th place, and he is hunting even, you know, a higher placement. So there's 9 seconds between them already, and let's be perfectly honest here, Gasly's bad start is not great. It has not given him the confidence boost that we were looking for, so we can only hope now that he can catch up to and maybe get a couple of different overtakes done, as we've basically just been recharging, attacking, recharging, and attacking, to just do things a little bit on the easy way here. But we are getting close to that first pit stop. Now for Norris, he is going to come out in a bit of free air here towards the back. Gas is going to have a ton of free air. And the idea is very simple. We try and make up as many places as we can, while the rest of these guys kind of run their tires into the ground. And hopefully pitting early here will pay off. We'll just have to wait and see. And already here we can kind of see just how much quicker we are than some of the other cars, although Norris is complaining about cold tires, so we can't actually see it. But we are basically running 132s, 133s, well basically 133s really, while the rest up to basically top 7 here is running 134, so we're gaining a second and a half each lap. So each lap that they stay out, we're getting 1.5 to 2 seconds on the cars in front, which is going to hopefully allow us to jump a lot of these guys during the pit stops. I think we'll just tune the tires up to standard, get the heat there. And as you can see for Norris, he's just now 2 seconds behind Verstappen. So this has worked out really, really good for us. And a lot of cars are now pitting. We'll have to see just how many we end up jumping. But Norris is now up a little bit. Gasly gets a little bit up as well. Still 1 to 7 cars ahead that needs to pit at minimum. So Norris does have a really, really good strategy for him. Unfortunately, if Gasly could have followed him, he would have had a, you know, a much better time. But he's now stuck in a different DRS train that we will have to try and manage and get him through. Norris up into 6th, not too far off the leader here. It's looking very, very good. We are now getting closer to our second and final pit stop. And while Verstappen has already pitted over to soft tires, he is pretty close, honestly, to Norris. It's just 9 seconds behind. So, as mentioned, our podium is probably going to be difficult. Gasly is getting closer though as well. He is just 28 seconds behind now. So maybe we can still get him on the podium, but that is going to be a hard ask, I think. He's just been stuck for so long. Confidence is going up, mind you, but even then, we aren't really getting the job done. We're going to be pushing these mediums now into the absolute ground, and then we'll be pitting for a light soft stint. We'll have a look and see exactly where we come out, but honestly, at this point, as mentioned, I think it's going to be a little bit too much to ask for us to beat the Red Bulls. Gasly is now coming in, and we'll have to see exactly where he comes out. But as you can see, Paris is coming in with him. We have Ocon, Show. He might beat Bottas out here. Just about. Schumacher actually pitted. So Gasly now, after his final pit stop, is actually running in 8th. And ahead of him, Russell is still going to need to pit, but he's so far ahead that I don't think that's going to really be in the same window, 30 seconds. Yeah, he's going to be able to safely pit. But that is what it is. For Gasly now, the job is just going to be to catch as many of these runners ahead. And for Norris now, we are going to be pitting him. He's going to come out somewhere behind Leclerc, but he's definitely on for a podium, I think, here. That is honestly the least we can expect. There is 15 laps remaining. We can, to some degree, run us off almost a full attack to the end. But we're just going to run it light here. That way we have more time towards the end. We should still be able to gain on the cars in front while running light, simply due to the fact the tire differential. And we come out, let us see here. We come out 13 seconds off the lead and 8 seconds off the podium. Let's see if Norris can close the gap, and if Gasly can improve his position at all. Russell is just 3 seconds ahead. To give you an idea of how quick we are, we just lost it, but we did actually just as fastest lap with Gasly, and we also said fastest lap with Norris. And as you can see, we're running 29.7s, 30 blanks, and the cars around us are just a tad slower than that, so we do have good chances. Now, however, with just 8 laps remaining, this is basically the point where we say we're gonna send it. So let's go ahead, we're gonna go full attack for both boys. They should survive till the end. But we have used a little bit too much fuel here, so we're going to have to slow down, recuperate that. But Norris is already all over Russell, and most likely going to get the move done here, I think. Particularly if we give him a little bit of extra helping of, push juice. And he gets that done. Very, very good. Up into the podium and ready to chase down the last 2 Red Bulls. And there's just now a 6-second lead that he has to chase down, which I think is doable. Gasly, on the other hand, has a chance now to chase down Russell and Ocon, or potentially 5th, and that 18-second gap there is probably a little bit too much to ask of him, but he is up into 6th place and should be able to get Ocon here in quick succession. So Gasly too looks like he's doing a very, very good job here. And there we go, he's up into 5th place. I think we'll have a quick look at that.
Here we are then, reaching turn 13. The opportunity's there.
Basically takes command of the corner, gets the overtake done. Very good. Now, as I mentioned, Gasly is going to have a hard time chasing anyone else down, but he is 2 seconds quicker than Sainz. If he can get a little bit quicker even, he might be able to catch him, but it's not looking very, very likely. But Norris, on the other hand, is running 2 seconds faster a lap than the Red Bulls. Has full energy, has fuel back now into the positives, and we should have tire enough that pushing here is not really a concern till the end. And, oh, that is a little bit too much. The game auto paused, and then I went from 1 to 16 rather than down to 2. But yeah, we are looking at an attack now on Leclerc. And if we get this done before Leclerc gets back into DRS, then I think Verstappen 2 is pretty much toast. And that is just a straightforward DRS overtake. We do have a huge DRS advantage. We made it work. We got that done. Now, we're currently 2.7 seconds a lap quicker than Sainz. 4 laps to go. In theory, Gasly could have a bit of a fight here with Sainz. The main problem is we don't really have any energy to make that chase even more efficient. So it's going to be a very, very close endeavor, as Norris now is all over Verstappen. 8 seconds now, 3 laps to go. It's going to be rough. Let's see what Gasly can do. And for Norris, I think he just pulled the overtake, so we'll try and create a gap there as well.
So this is what happened. Now this, I think, was at turn 13. It's certainly inviting.
Same move I saw earlier. Takes command of the corner. Gets the overtake done. Very, very nice. But that also kind of shows us just how quick our car actually is. We can start last and still catch up to Red Bulls, beat them. Let's be honest here, in this case we had a little bit of help. Both of them started, you know, a little bit further back. They've got held up for a little bit. But all in all, we've had a really good race with Norris. Not as good with Gasly, let's be perfectly honest. But it is what it is. Unfortunately, I don't believe he is going to catch Sainz here, so we'll just speed things along. Because let's face it, he isn't. Tires have just kind of reached a point where they've completely given up. And that is unfortunate. Norris wins. We have second and third from the Red Bulls. Sainz is going to come fourth. Gas is going to come fifth. And with that, we should, provided we don't have any more incidents, have just solved all of our potential penalties. So that is really, really good. A better result than I anticipated. And with that, Norris now has a good 50-point lead in the constructors over Gasly and a 100-point lead over Verstappen, which means that at this point, we are 4 races technically closer to just winning. I'll have to see if I do the entire season, I'll be perfectly honest, because, well, I have a surprise tomorrow, and I want to kind of prepare for that. It's a little bit sad, a little bit bad of me, but I think you'll be more happy with what I have to offer tomorrow. Yeah, that was for Suzuka. Things have been sorted. We do have some regulation boat changes, but they are of no concern to us because we aren't going to be playing next season. We are still going to keep on developing chassis, side pods. I've actually used CFD on these side pods, which is going to be kind of interesting now to watch. Because I thought that would be interesting. I think this is the most I've ever developed a side pod or a chassis. And it's kind of interesting to watch exactly just how powerful they do become. So in this case, as mentioned, these are the side pods we did use CFD time on just to get a little bit of a look at, you know, what that would do. And honestly, I don't think it was worth it. Let's face it, 3% here, 6, 6, 7, 12. That's not really a lot. So, yeah, I don't think it was worth it, honestly. We could focus on getting a little bit more, you know, low-speed cornering by investing into it. But all in all, I don't think this was a gamble that was worth it for the side pods. But we'll still get them done, just a final iteration. And honestly, we are getting to the point now. We still have 20 million remaining in the cost cap. We are getting to the point now where we need to slow down designs and just manufacture. So those are going to be the final side pods. We're probably going to make a final edition front wing, suspension. You get the idea. And then we're just going to completely stop developing. Because let's face it, we're not going to be using the parts till the end. And the car is really, really good. We have a huge lead. I think we are safely going to say here that we're going to finish the maximum weight challenge. I do regret, however, that I didn't try the hardest I could last season. I think that would have been more fun. But on the other hand, it would have required probably to split the season into 7 or so episodes. Because, as I said, would have had to play the game a lot slower. Would have had to kind of try a little bit harder. Which, honestly, I would have loved to do. But I just unfortunately haven't had the time for. But yeah, thank you so far. I am just going to jump into Qatar. Let's see what it has to offer. The Qatar sprint went as it usually goes, with some punctures for others, while our light strategy gave us an easy 1-2. And the race itself was fairly uneventful. The final set of pit stops, we come out ahead of the Bulls. And by the end, we get a 1-2 by extending that gap to good 10 seconds. The Texas sprint ended with a first and third place for us, with the Bulls close and chasing. In the race itself, we started out running with Verstappen, and that continued after both our first and second stop, and right before the end, we are able to launch an attack, giving us a 1-2 finish, and creating a fairly big gap to Verstappen. So we are nearing the end. We're at Mexico, just 4 races remaining, including this one. And as you can see, this is going to be a little bit of a roller coaster. We start off dry for the first few laps. Then we go on to about 10 laps of inter. Then we have 15 laps of wet. Another 10-ish laps of inter. Wet, inter. It's going to be a very, very rough day for our pit crew. I can say that for sure. So with that in mind, we are 1-2 here, as we usually are. The Red Bulls are kind of giving us a fight, but at this point, our car is amazing. We've also gotten a new suspension that we actually fitted for this race, and as you can see here, gives us a half a kph more top speed. It gives us, well, let's put it this way. Negatives are positives, positives are negatives. So basically, we get a little bit more cornering, we get a lot more top speed, and we lose a little bit of that brake cooling. But honestly, the brake cooling that we have is already amazing, so it is perfectly fine. We might see a couple more incidents, as we haven't actually seen a, not even a virtual safety car, I think, for the last 10 or so races. It's been it's been a lot of the same stuff, and I apologize for that. But the teams here had got their shit together, and we haven't actually had any crashes. It's been some smaller incidents at the back of the grid, but they haven't actually caused anything or had any effect on the race itself. Now, with that said, let's just jump into Mexico here, and let's see if we survive until the first rain arrives. We are now nearing the rain. It has arrived, 62 millimeters on track, and since we are running 1-2 here, with Verstappen down in 6th, a good 7 seconds behind, I think what we're going to do here is actually pull the trigger on Norris. We're going to get him in first before we do anyone else. And we are just going to keep on checking the track details. I do believe that going into here before we go wet is going to be the play. It is going to be probably, as mentioned, 10 or so laps of Inter before we go wet. And if we go wet too soon, they're just going to be completely shredded. Now, I might be wrong. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me here. That is kind of a weird line to adjust to, because this could be wet, could be Inters. Don't know. We don't have a reference on the left side. With that said, we are going to get Norris into pits. We're going to turn him down to light here just in case, so we don't shred the Inters immediately. But it is going up fairly rapidly. You can see that it already has hit 20 millimeters, or gone 30 more millimeters from the last corner to here. And everyone is more or less double stacking. The question now is, can Gasly keep it alive long enough here for us to get into the pits and not lose out too much? And the question to that is probably going to be a resounding no. But we'll see here. We have hopes up for him. He does have good adaptability, so maybe, just maybe, he was able to push enough that he will not lose out too terribly. But that pit stop error is going to put him at least behind Leclerc. And honestly, without that, we might have come out just barely ahead. So, not the worst first stop, but we're going to just manage tyres now. We're going to manage temps, and then we'll see where we're at once we jump onto wets. Leclerc is the first car to jump onto wets here, and let's be honest, it's probably a good time. We are going to try and push everything Gasly has there. We're deploying, we're using fuel, using everything to try and jump him in the pits. That's going to be the play here. Now, it is kind of risky, honestly, to put both cars in at the same time in case Norris has an issue. We already had, one minor one. But I think it's going to pay off. That's going to be at least a hope here. I would just get both cars onto wets. No real problems. A little bit of a slow stop there, but perfectly fine. And I believe that is Gasly just barely ahead of the Red Bull. So we have jumped Leclerc in the pits. We've kind of done what we wanted. And we do know that this rain is not going to last for too long. I don't know if we're going to go on Inters in this short period. We'll have to see. So we are actually going to manage these tyres once they're up to temp. Water levels are rapidly going down here. We're down to 420, 410. And soon we're going to get back into Inters territory. And as you can see here, as a result of that, the temperature on the tires is going up. However, we have yet to have anyone take the jump here and actually go onto Inters. But looking at this, it's going to be about 10 laps. I think we are going to have to do it. So we are going to go ahead and do a little bit of double stacking here. Probably should have got one of the cars in last lap, but I was a little bit unsure just how the rain would treat us, because sometimes it actually doesn't go low enough that it's worth to pit. And as you can see here, we actually have Leclerc stay out, we actually have Verstappen stay out. So maybe we made a bit of a mistake, we'll see. But if we have, I do believe we'll make a bit of a comeback later on, because they should be slow now. And not only should they be slow, they should be shredding these tires, and kind of are. Verstappen has gone in now. Is Leclerc going to do the same, or is he going to stay out and maybe just outplay us a little bit here? He's opted to stay out. We'll have to see if the fresh tires will be enough to catch him again. For Leclerc, I think we can say that staying out was the wrong choice, based on the fact that currently we have caught up with him, and we're about halfway through the Inter break, if you will. Currently, he's running 29, so we're running 25, so we are 4 seconds faster. So as long as we get 4 laps done while ahead of him, we are going to be making up the deficit here, if you will. So I still think it's the best move to stay out. We might, of course, end up behind him if we aren't careful later on. But I think in the end, this is going to give us more of an advantage. And he did have 80% of his wets later on. They're down to 60, Gio's down to 50. You kind of see they're just melting. So he's also going to be very, very slow once we go back to wet territory, which is going to be in just a few minutes here. But even then, he's already 12 seconds, 14 seconds, 15 seconds behind. So, as you can imagine, Leclerc is running 32. It's actually Verstappen now that is behind us. So, Leclerc is basically out of this now. He's going to have to pit for another set of wets. So, pitting for Inters was the correct choice for sure. Now, we're just going to keep on pushing here. Verstappen is actually going into the pits before Leclerc did, which is a bit insane. This is a little bit early, I think, to jump onto the wets, but to be fair, it's probably around now that you should. But we have such a huge gap to Leclerc, to Verstappen, that we can actually play it a little bit safe here and just do one more lap on these Inters, save as much of the wet tire that we can, and then still be really, really happy. So we're going to just get both cars in now for the wet change. And we should have another one into towards the end. But so far, the pit stops have given us an advantage that we can be really, really happy with. Leclerc's stubbornness finally won out, and he's going on the Inters before everyone else. He didn't actually pit until this point, and he was at danger of puncturing his wet tires. But as you can see, staying out has cost him. He's now over a minute behind us, and he was running with us before we did our first Inter switch. Now, we are actually going to be jumping on Inters as well, because it is going back into Inter territory. But with the gaps that we have, I don't think there's going to be any, concern. We're a good half a minute ahead of Verstappen, as Norris makes it a little bit interesting here by spinning. And he's still parked on the track. So Gasly takes the lead. And that does cut down the gap a little bit to Verstappen, but honestly, it's not a huge deal. He's still safe. It's not going to cost him. The tires, we're going to remove them immediately. The main problem here is the loss of confidence, but even that shouldn't actually be a huge concern here. He does come up behind Verstappen, though, but Verstappen has yet to pit for Inters, so that should not be a huge deal. Sorry for giving you a little bit of scare there. It's Tsunoda who's actually crashed here on the final lap. Damaged his rear wing, but can keep going. Now, we've actually been able to just kind of take it easy here to make sure that we did not have an incident, and I'm kind of happy about that. Gasly wins, Norris comes in second, and we still have 15 and 25 literally seconds down to Norris, between Norris and Leclerc. So,
well done, that's it.
I think we can be happy with this result. It's actually really, really good, so we'll take that. And I believe that might be the championship decider.
What a masterclass drive from...
We'll have to see. I don't think it's decided between Norris and Gasly yet. But Constructors is definitely decided here. We have 300 points. There's 3 race weekends remaining. One of them is a sprint weekend, but even then, you can't close this gap. 44, 44, and what would be 59? So yeah, there's no way they close this gap. We already have the Constructors. And in the Drivers' Championship here, well, it isn't completely decided between... Where is it? What's the difference here? 70 points? 26, 26, 26. Yeah. In theory, Gasly can still get Norris. I'll be honest. He can still get him. I kind of doubt it, though. We have yet to have a DNF this year. And Norris has just been faster. But we'll see. I'm going to sit down now and edit for a little bit and see how much this entire season actually turns out to be. And if it's a very long video, I think we will cut it here. I'll be back in a sec. And I'm back. Unfortunately, I will not have time to finish the last 3 races before the end of today, as, I am going out tonight with some friends, so unfortunately plans already made. I tried my best to get as much of it done. As you can see, we got very close, but that is most likely going to be it for the maximum weight challenge. I'd say we have completed it. We haven't completed the season, but we have won both titles, and honestly, we might revisit this and just finish it off some other time. But with the 24 coming out on Tuesday, that is kind of doubtful. But I would like to just thank everyone who has followed this series, any of my series this year and last year. It's been amazing. And I'm looking forward to the next game. I'm very sorry for not finishing this one. But as I said, we might revisit. I kind of doubt it though, let's be honest. But never say never. Again, thank you very, very much for your support. It means the world to me. And hope to see you in 24. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.